I'm back. A little bit more beer this time. What I want to talk about today is one of my favorite sort of misconceptions to kind of help people with when they're talking about coffee. And that's the difference between strength and flavor. So this seems very simple and it seems kind of logical, but it's one of the things that people sort of trip up over quite a lot. Anyone who's in the coffee industry will find this very familiar. So if you have somebody who comes in and who's wanting to buy some coffee from you, you ask them what they like, and they normally say, well, I like a strong coffee, but I don't like it too bitter. And that's kind of a blanket. That'll be 90% of people coming in. And the only real answer that you can give to that is, well, buy a coffee that's not bitter and brew it strong. And at that point, you see their heads just go explode. They can't get their head around that concept. It just takes a little bit more thinking about it to understand it. So I'd like to do a little demo just to kind of talk through that a little bit. So to demonstrate this, I've got some cordial. So I've got this normal kind of orange cordial here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a little bit into this glass. Okay, get the top open. And if I put a little bit in like that, you can see that I'm probably not going to get a very strong drink out of that. Okay, and then if I pour this into the second glass and we pour a little bit more in there, you can see that when we top it up with water, like this, one is going to be a hell of a lot weaker than the other. Okay, so we kind of understand this with cordial. We don't really sort of get our heads around it with coffee quite as much. So you can have obviously weak cordial and strong cordial, but you can also have different cordial. Okay, so this one is a it's a ginger and lemongrass, I think, which is a little bit more kind of more exciting than your normal kind of orange, but the same thing applies. So if we do roughly the same amount in each one and then dilute it again, we've got, this one hasn't got quite as much colour, but we've got again a weak one and a strong one. Okay, so here we have 2 weak drinks and 2 strong drinks. Okay, and this can happen with coffee. So you can have a really weak bitter drink and a really strong bitter drink, and you can have a really weak sweet drink and a really strong sweet drink, and you can have a really weak acidic drink and a really strong acidic drink. The strength doesn't really change the cordial, the taste of or the flavour from that cordial. It doesn't really change that. It dilutes it, or it gets stronger if you put less water in. So when we talk about this in the context of coffee, this is a little bit harder thing for us to get our heads around, because actually we're not just doing this. What we're doing is we're actually making the cordial as we're doing it. So this is a little bit more tricky for coffee. But the best thing to do when you're choosing a coffee is to choose flavours that you think you're going to like. So if it says on the packet that it's going to have higher acidity, it's going to be slightly sweet, and you like that, go for that. If it says it's going to be a bit more bitter dominance, then go for that if you like it. I'm not suggesting anyone should have any preference. Every single person has a different preference. They have it for strength, they have it for body, they have it for sweetness, they have it for acidity, they have it for bitterness. So all of those things are your own preference as well. So everyone's going to have their own little preference for that. Some people choose different brewing devices depending on how they brew, because they will give you a certain amount of strength just because of inherently that's the way they brew. And people will be drawn to that because of that. So when we talk about flavour, we're encompassing quite a few things. We've got taste, and then we've got smell, and we've also got this kind of like retronasal kind of aroma thing going on as well. And that all bundled together is your flavour. And you will like that maybe for different coffees at different strengths, and that's perfectly fine. That's all good. All these preferences that we have are constantly changing throughout our lives. They change between us, like genetically. It changes with fashion. The more you have of something, the the more you like to have that as well, the more exposure you have to it. It changes with age as well, as your kind of taste buds sort of change as you get older, or they will become less efficient. You might want to have stronger things to get the same kind of hit that you had previously. So that's the strength thing. So choose your flavor, dilute it to the strength that you want. Okay. So the next thing is, how do we make this cordial? Yeah, that's extraction. Okay. See you in the next one.